what makes people genuinely connect at an emotional level with your brand? Hey everyone, welcome back to Never Think Alone. I'm Kyle Fraser, and today we're looking at something you've probably noticed yourself. Online content is starting to feel kind of the same. Scrolling through social media at the moment feels like a mixed bag of formulaic content. There's so many more M dashes and superlatives than necessary. AI tools have made content faster and easier. It's even more polished. But here's the problem with that. When we all rely on the same artificial thinking, everything becomes generic. Brands sound identical, stories feel flat, and our brains tend to check out. A mentor of mine used to say that you can't outsource your empathy. He was referring to brands who seek insights without exposing themselves to the people that they seek to serve. Now, the magic of a brand experience, in my opinion, comes from a connect to the audience, the feelings, the small data, if you will, that inspire meaning. I think the same is true of outsourcing your thinking to LLMs or LRM models. Look, I love using generative AI in my day-to-day work and my life. As a writer and a strategist, I use it to help me to think clearer, to reduce biases. I've trained my own custom GPTs, and they act as sparring partners with an understanding of mental models for better decision-making. It's definitely made me better. But the truth is, outsourcing your thinking to AI is a bit of a trap. It'll reduce your capacity to be truly creative and novel. Because thinking, much like writing, is a practice. The less you practice, the lazier your brain gets. You've probably seen the social media headlines doing the rounds already. The MIT lab that conducted EEG research on people using AI, internet search, or no tools at all when writing an essay. Unsurprisingly, MIT found that when participants relied too much on AI, their brains were less engaged. More intriguing to me is the potential for long-term impacts in their relative ability to think and to reason over time. It's important to mention that this has not been peer-reviewed yet, so we do need to spend a little bit more time interrogating this, but I think it's interesting nonetheless as a thought experiment. What if AI could potentially make you, less? AI tools are trained on existing content, and they create a feedback loop. Everyone's now drawing from the same well, producing the same optimized but soulless content. So your voice will become like everyone else's voice, and this applies to brands too. The truth is, we hunger for authenticity. According to Jonathan Haidt's moral foundations model, there are 6 deep-seated emotional needs that everyone has, and they're the true drivers of our behavior. One of those drivers is the taste for authenticity. The more AI first our world gets, the more people will crave less polished content. Products too, for that matter. It'll be the imperfections, the realness. When appreciating any art form, we want to feel like a human has been invested in the work. So all of this is to say that the more brands and creators rely on AI to think and feel on their behalf, the less they actually connect with their audiences in reality and in their branded relationships too. So that leads me to the difference between complex and complicated. These terms tend to get used interchangeably, but I think it's useful, especially in decision-making, to think of them as separate sorts of challenges so that you can choose the right approach to finding the right solution. The Cynefin Framework, at least I think that's how it's pronounced, is a mental model that I've been using for many years for problem solving in strategy and in other projects. It defines complicated problems as those that seem difficult at first, but they're ultimately solvable with expertise and skills because they have some form of clear cause and effect. Yeah, you need to think of fixing a broken engine or performing heart surgery. There's a process you can follow to each of those things. They must be very difficult, but there's a best practice of sorts to solving the challenge. In contrast, complex problems have an emergent property. They involve uncertainty, interdependence, and dynamic influences. They're not predictable, and you can't simply solve them by applying expertise or previous experience because they evolve and they shift over time. Think of culture change or forging human relationships. Our ability to collaborate is our use of empathy and theory of mind, the ability to imagine what other people are thinking and feeling, complex activities. In my experience, I found that LLM and LRM models are particularly good at solving complicated problems because they have advanced pattern matching, the advanced reading and reasoning, but they're not great at interpreting complex, uncertain problems. The ones that involve deep, meaningful human nature. I suppose it goes without saying. Apple's illusion of thinking research revealed that as advanced AI reasoning systems face challenges with increasing complexity, they don't just plateau, they retreat. I stand to be corrected, but my interpretation is that the models are applying the same logic that they do to complicated problems as they would for complex problems. So when used effectively, AI models can make space for higher levels of human intuition. When you relinquish this control, you're setting yourself up for failure. I like to say that beautiful prompting can get beautiful results, but you have to choose the right problems to solve first. I'm going to give you what I call an affective architecture. That's a change in emotional experience. Affect is the change that people experience. In the age of AI, brands and creators will probably blend into a sea of sameness. If they're not using empathy as a creative tool in their kit alongside LLMs and other tools, you can be different by using an affective architecture to world building around your brand. So this is for those of you who really want to connect with your audience. At number 1, map human truths, not just user journeys. Ask yourself, what makes people genuinely connect at an emotional level with your brand? What are their goals? What sort of obstacles are holding them back? What are their aspirations? If you don't know, speak to people about it, preferably in person. Gain some level of empathy with them. That'll help you to produce better content as a brand. At number 2, embrace purposeful friction. In tech, we tend to think of friction as a bad thing, but little unexpected moments like a handwritten thank you or some form of surprise interaction, they slow people down. They help them engage more deeply in those branded experiences. At number 3 is to tell your origin story. This is the messy truth behind your brand. I suggest that you don't hide your imperfections. People don't really trust perfect. We tend to look for and seek out, root for the underdog, the rags to riches stories. You'll find brands like Patagonia proudly telling customers that they started in a garage. You can reveal the realities of how you're overcoming these problems and open the curtain for your audience to step in and participate in the brand. At number 4, co-create with your audience. Invite people into your story. Give them the chance to contribute, to give feedback, even reshape your narrative. People love being a part of something real. AI is making it even easier for your audience to create on your behalf. So if you're already experiencing that as a brand, consider ways to incentivize and enhance the efforts that they're already making. Number 5, build cultural artifacts. Shared rituals. These are the inside jokes, the things that make your branded community feel unique. They build belonging. Think of Spotify's end-of-year playlists. That's like super shareable. Or a Discord community that thrives on its own language or its own memes. At number 6, measure meaning. That's the affect, and not just the metrics. Businesses tend to frame briefs around performance, but I've found that the best briefs that I've received are about meaningful engagement in the brand. That's because they're actually often the route to better results. Ask yourself, is this really contributing? Is this really creating value for people who follow us, who believe in the brand? And in closing, imperfection is your means of connection. AI can replicate style or tone, but it can't authentically fake what makes you and your team human together. The imperfections, the quirks, the vulnerable stories, they tend to help people to see themselves in your brand. So that's exactly your advantage, especially in a world of people who are too afraid to think for themselves. So lean into your own humanity. Build brands that people actually believe in. People don't want perfect. They want something real. Thanks for joining in today. If you like this episode, please subscribe and let me know in the comments, what's your favorite example of a brand or creator who's unapologetically true to themselves? See you next time on Never Think Alone, where we find ways to think better together. The Never Think Alone podcast is brought to you by my tech and experience design agency, Plus Narrative. Plus Narrative has been focused on people-first development, design, and strategy since 2013. I'm a little biased, but if you have an innovation, user experience, or software project brief, or you just need a trained strategist to facilitate your next workshop, I cannot think of a better team to help. We're based in South Africa and Mauritius, so we work with clients and companies all over the world. If you want to find out more, go to plusnarrative.com. We'll put a link in the show notes too. That's plusnarrative.com.